Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to yet another panel discussion with our regular panelists, Dwaipan and Jai, on the Sports Bash YouTube channel. Today was a terrific Thursday where it was a double header. We had two very interesting matches, but we are here to discuss the first match that was the 53rd IPL match that was held in the Dubai International Stadium between CSK and Punjab Kings, where obviously a phenomenal performance by the captain of Punjab Kings, KL Rahul, who was also awarded the man of the match, led his side to a spectacular victory over Chennai Super Kings, which showed that the Chennai side also has some vulnerabilities, and Punjab Kings was able to explore those vulnerabilities. And our panelists tonight will help us make sense of what Punjab did well and where CSK lagged. So my first question to Dwaipan about how the CSK openers have always been in a terrific form throughout this edition of the IPL. Faf du Plessis once again playing a knock of 76 runs in today's match. Ruturaj Gaikwad and Faf du Plessis, the openers have been phenomenal. They've consistently been performing, and I guess they've crossed the barrier of 1,000 runs, which goes on to prove that they are in a great form. Like they've hit the purple patch. But when we see the form of the other batsmen for CSK, they haven't been able to provide that form of support to the openers. I mean, the openers have been able to make a foundation, build a foundation, but the other batsmen haven't been able to capitalize on the same. So my question to Dwaipan about how do you feel the other batsmen weren't able to cope up, and how were the openers able to perform so well for CSK?
Yes, I mean, I feel 540 and 533 runs is what Faf du Plessis and Gaikwad has scored in this season so far. And when two players at
Right.
the very top give you so much, at times the rest of the order goes untested into the final stages of the business end of the tournament. But I feel Nishit stereotyped into asking me this question because I'm wearing yellow, but instead I think Jay would like to add more on this.
Yeah,
Yes,
when we talk about the team CSK, so we have discussed it pretty early on that the way the openers were performing. So there had been a few doubts in our minds too, if the middle order is not getting that much of an exposure right now, so it might come to bite them at on a later stage. And we got to see that today, other than Ravindra Jadeja and Wayne Bravo, we haven't seen people from the lower order performing that well. Even Dhoni has not been able to perform that well with his bat, other than the time he finished with the six, finishing off in style the way he usually does. So this is actually a concern for CSK on how they are going to patch up this hole that has been found out. Other than that, their openers are doing really great. So if only they are able to tweak up this small place that they have a hole in. So I guess CSK would be good to go.
true, true. So great points by both of our panelists about how CSK needs the other openers to fire and go all guns blazing if they want to perform well and win their and add another trophy to their cabinet. But building upon your answer to about the CSK openers, Jay, I would like to come to you and ask the second question to you about how KL Rahul, the captain for Punjab Kings, had a phenomenal knock today, 98 runs, awarded the man of the match. And his great performance helped Punjab Kings seal the victory and dominate over the table toppers so far just by the 13th over. So it was a clear dominant performance through and through, and KL Rahul played a pivotal role in that. So what do you think about KL Rahul's performance and the overall performance of Punjab Kings tonight?
KL Rahul has been performing from a long time. He's been having the orange cap on and off again and again. But it was the other batsmen in the team were not showing up at times. At times, the bowling side was falling a short. But this time, when we heard KL Rahul talk about the way he performed today, so he talked about him stepping up and doing what was needed for the team. Like from the get go, I guess they had come into a discussion where they had to chase the target within 14 overs. So from the first ball, KL Rahul had he had the go ahead to start hitting the ball from the from the first ball of the first over. So from that point on, he has played his game the way he likes to play it. And so today we are able to see him bear fruits for the same. So him playing this knock was amazing, and seeing him deliver in such a critical moment for his team. That was an amazing shot. And the way we see we have discussed this a number of times. If the skipper or if such an important experienced player is playing till the end, the team is usually victorious. So we saw that again today. Like Faf du Plessis was there till half of the way, and then his wicket went out, and then that it showed a bit of chink in the armor of CSK. where later on the other players did not have that much time to perform. On the other hand, where KL Rahul had come in, he was hitting off and he was settled on the pitch. So when he played that much better, so that brought them out on top. Weapon,
Right.
would you like to add anything?
Yes, I mean about the orange cap thing, I just want to add that today when Ruturaj Gaikwad got out, he left the field as the orange cap holder in the tournament. In the last over of the same innings when Faf got out, he left the field as the orange cap holder of the tournament. When KL Rahul came up with all those 98 runs, firecrackers and all, he left the field as the orange cap of the
Orange cap.
tournament. So, but I think it's worthwhile. I don't usually do this, but let's just go through what KL Rahul had to say after the match. It was just what the team needs. I know there has been a lot of talk in the last 3-4 years about my strike rate and me playing slowly, but only my team and I know what's my role and what my responsibility is. You know, it's always team first for me. That's how I've grown up and that's how I will continue to play. Today, the team needed this. I was happy that I could play this kind of a knock. So, what does this tell us of KL Rahul? He's willing to do what the team, what he feels is right for the team, irrespective of what the outside noise is. And that also comes to show us, it puts it more into the perspective of how is this, he's got this celebration. Right, when asked about what this means, it's about cutting out the outside noise. And I just tweeted about this as well, that KL Rahul coming out with this aggressive flair. I don't think there's a better sight on a cricket field than that. And the way he decimated all the Chennai bowlers, and just I think if it would have come just 2-3 matches earlier, it would have been even more thought provoking in the sense how Punjab can go through into the playoffs today. It might not happen. They might not play any more games in this edition. But for India and the World T20, huge knock, coming off like this. I mean, it's
Correct.
just.
I would
So
like to add one point, like when Joypan pointed out the strike rate and all of that. So when KL Rahul was talking about the responsibilities, I guess he was hinting towards the fact that before his team actually needed a player to continue till the end. So that is why he was playing that kind of a knock. And this
Yes.
time he had the get go from the start, and that is why he played that kind of a knock. So I guess that is why before he was not playing so aggressively and he was trying to stick around till the end. But that used to backfire. And today when he had the go ahead, so he played a completely different kind of a innings, and that showed.
right. So great points by both of our panelists tonight about how the reason why KL Rahul has been getting the orange cap over so many years is not just about him hitting the purple patch every year, but also about how maturely he has been playing and taking the responsibility right from the word get go, and also taking his team right towards the finish. And we can draw parallels about how for CSK and Kings and Punjab, the openers they always perform, but then in the middle order, they haven't been able to support the openers quite well, and that will something that the franchise owners will also be, trying to make a sense of. And yeah, that leads us to the discussion of the day, where we talked about how Kings 11 Punjab has been trying to, end their knockout matches, and maybe they're not into the playoffs now, but they're trying to end their edition of the IPL this season with a high by consecutive victories, so to speak. But then CSK, on the other hand, despite being the table toppers and despite having a great start, especially in this leg of the IPL,
They,
have suffered
they are not the table toppers anymore.
almost
I just
anymore.
want to
Yeah. Correct. So just like a true DC fan, Dwaypan pointing out about how CSK has dropped, and especially the reason why they've been replaced by DC as the table toppers is the reason because CSK suffered 3 consecutive losses, and with that mindset, they have to go to the playoffs. Obviously, they will have the luxury of playing one more match and all, but still, I mean, when you enter the playoffs, you want a morale boosting victory, and today's loss in just a 13th over will also be a traumatic experience for a lot of CSK players, and it will be very tough for them to bounce back. So my question to Dwaipan and then to Jay about how CSK will manage, or how they should have to manage about entering the playoffs after suffering 3 consecutive defeats at the hands of other teams.
Yes, I mean, I'll start off by saying a bit about there are many aspects of IPL being a 14 game long tournament for every side. It gives you all other sides get to know a lot about their opponents throughout these 14 games. So CSK, no matter, they have been a very clinical side with batting, bowling, fielding, but at this point of time in the tournament, I just feel they have been found out a bit. They know like at the top, Ruturaj and Faf, if you get past them, any bowling side understands that if you just get past the two of them within the first 3-4 overs of in the power play, CSK middle order tends to get into a shell. In the bowling side, the Rajasthan game and then today's game, I am 100% sure that the bowlers in Chahar and the others would slightly be. Speaking of Chahar, he proposed, and in a personal life, he's going through a good time. But professionally, I feel the CSK bowlers are somewhat scarred by what's happened to them in the last 2-3 games. So that will require someone like an MS Dhoni to again bring in a bit of a calm in that dressing room. It's a concern, if you lose 3 games at the end of a group stage, teams are starting to defeat, and even other teams are seeing that Chennai lost 3 games. They are not in the best mental headspace now. So it's a challenge for Chennai going into the playoffs. It's an advantage that they're still in the top two. But yes, CSK is going through a slight jolt, is what I'd say.
What about you, Jay?
I would like to say that I guess the armor that CSK was that everybody thought was undefeatable. We just found a few chunks in their armor. And if they're able to straighten all of that out, they have nothing to worry, because being at the top two teams of the table and the kind of consistent performance that they've given through all of the series, the kind of captain that MS Dhoni is, the way he pushes players, the way he raises their morals, he looks into them. So I don't think it should be that much of a concerning on the CSK dressing room on how the morale would be, how it would happen. I guess Dhoni would just identify what all the problems are and he would come up with some kind of a solution to it, or at least give the team a kind of space where they can reach out to the solution on their own. Right. So I'm guessing I don't see that much of a concern in this part. Even though they have lost 3 games, they are able to identify what all is going wrong, where it is going wrong, and what they have to do right now. Because they have again 2 more opportunities, even when we talk about the qualifiers. So they can make use of all of those chances to find out everything that's going wrong and then straighten all of that out to still hold up the trophy. The DC fan might not like hearing all of this, but CSK is still in. It is the trophy is still anybody.
Yeah, that being said, I just think that if whether these three losses would make Gaikwad and Faf at the top go a bit slow, like what KL Rahul has been doing for Punjab all these years. If that happens, then Gaikwad and Faf at the top won't have the same impact. They won't be running away with the game like they have with the first half of the UAE leg. So it's a kind of a mental shift that CSK would hope does not happen for them. And Jay, I agree with the part that Dhoni can come up with a tactical solution for this, but it's about the players who need to eventually go up there and come up. CSK usually has answered all these questions every time people put up questions on their campaign. But yes, it's another junction where they are a bit challenged right now.
Right. So important points raised by both of our panelists about how CSK needs to look inwards and make some systemic changes, strategic changes, maybe reshuffling the batting order, or trying to look about how they might rotate the bowlers or use the other bowlers quite effectively. But they need to do that very effectively and very quickly, because they don't have enough time and they need to bounce back if they want to add one more IPL trophy to their illustrious cabinet. That being said, before we move to the preview round, once again a quick trivia round about Punjab Kings, because we always have trivia questions about the winners. I will be asking questions about Kings 11 Punjab, because we always like to go down the memory lane. So obviously it was Kings 11 Punjab before it was Punjab Kings. Being a singer, I like to sing a lot. Music is my first love. And so a question about IPL and music together. The first jingle, or the first song, so to speak, about Kings 11 Punjab was called Dhoom Punjabi. And you need to tell me which singer sang that song.
Daler Mehendi.
Okay, what about you?
No idea. Might be Sukhwinder Singh.
Okay, so I'm not 100% sure with this, but I guess it is Diljit Dosanjh. Another song about Kings 11 Punjab was sung by Daler Mehendi, but I guess the initial version was sung by Diljit Dosanjh. Another question: which Indian cricketer at one point said that he wanted to run away from Kings 11 Punjab because the team management of Punjab didn't like him? So it was a very controversial statement at that point, but then it was resolved quite amicably at the end. So
yeah, I don't know. Yuvraj Singh maybe.
Yuvraj Singh, correct. So DC fan on fire.
हमारे तुक्के
And
भी सही लग जाते हैं.
yeah, wait. And then the last
Contextually,
question:
who are the big Indian players? Who will
who
say
can
this?
say things such like
If
this, right?
tomorrow Deepak Huda comes in and says a similar thing, nobody would remember that after 6 months. So it needed to be a big player from
Big player, right?
Punjab.
And one last question: which overseas player? Now just talking about Kings 11 Punjab, so no longer Punjab Kings. Like so, till the time it was Kings 11 Punjab. Which overseas player had the record for most catches in the Kings 11 Punjab uniform? Which overseas player and the maximum number of catches?
Adam Gilchrist.
Okay, good try, Ajay. What about you? What do you think?
No idea.
Okay, it's David Miller.
Oh, David. All right.
All right.
Chalo,
So now,
last just brief thing. Who is the leading run scorer for the Punjab franchise all time?
Sean Marsh, I guess.
Yeah, Sean Marsh's record was broken today.
Acha,
KL
today,
Rahul.
right? KL
Yeah,
Rahul now.
yes.
Okay. Cool. So now we move on to the preview of the 55th game for IPL that will be held tomorrow.
Jay,
The game between
Jay is probably gonna frame this 15-second clip of our video in his bedroom.
Finally.
finally,
Yeah.
yeah, opening the tally. Jai, a very beaming face of Jai. But we move on to the preview for the 55th game of the IPL for this edition 2021. The game between Delhi Capitals and Royal Challengers Bangalore. The Royal Challengers Bangalore sits quite comfortably, but it has been a topsy-turvy ride for them. And in front of them are the table toppers DC. Very a very phenomenal journey for them. We have Dwaipan, who obviously will be supporting Delhi Capitals, but who knows, Rajasthan can win against them, and once again prove that they deserve to be in the playoffs, and it's not just a fluke or a one-off chance. But yeah, my questions to both of our panelists about which team you will be supporting and the bowlers and the batsmen you would be supporting for
Which team
tomorrow.
you would be supporting part is only for Jay. Which team
Right.
you be?
Yeah. So
Correct.
you can get the head start. Like, you have just one question to answer.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, so I'll go ahead. It's like DC RCB matches. They've got some history to it. I had gone to see that game in 2018 where Kohli and AB de Villiers both scored 70 and all. That time the DC was not the DC that they are now. But in terms of only the context of this year, it's an important game because both teams might face each other in the playoffs again, and RCB could have barged into the top two had they not lost their last game. But at times it's okay to lose a game in the group stage. It's just that brief wake up call to all the members in the team that this is something that needs more commitment, needs more discipline to you for you to go all the way. And DC has not had that loss. I'm almost that fan ki yaar kisi ki aankh na lag jaye. So it's okay if DC loses tomorrow because they are on 10 wins. CSK is on 9. So even if RCB wins tomorrow, they go to 9, and then the fight is between RCB and CSK for the second, third. DC is safe. So I mean, the loss tomorrow won't hurt so much. To win, it's good, but to lose is also not that bad. So yeah,
Like,
And the
I'm not.
players that you will be supporting for DC?
Yeah, for DC, I feel players like Dhawan need to come up, need to put up the stage on fire a bit more. Shaw, Dhawan, Iyer. The middle order is something that on some day comes off, does not come off. But the top order needs to bring in more solidity. Is
And a
what
bowler or a couple of bowlers that you want to perform well?
the bowler from RCB camp I want to be wary of as a DC fan is Harshal Patel, of course, Purple Patel. He just comes in at the end and takes wickets on a roll, and I feel DC would be wary of that. But yeah, that's
Okay, and what about you, Jay?
today we get to see again an irony where he was talking about CSK. It should be worrying about the losses, whereas now he's talking about DC having one
DC,
loss won't be that much
say
bad of a wake up call. So, we see two sides of a fan when it comes to their own team. And
right.
the same thing, like, I would like to see RCB and DC go all out and having a really good game where we see again Harshal Patel and Yuzvendra Chahal bowl really good. And we'll again be able to see their magic in the death overs. But I also want Virat Kohli to experiment going in with his aggressive bowlers during the power play because we have seen him go in this way from the I guess, from a lot of time where he is using his major, wicket taking bowlers in the death overs. So the teams are usually out performing really good in the power play, and then they are able to put the breaks in the death overs. But what if that does not happen? I feel like he should maybe use a different kind of strategy, and he's getting a game where he can test that strategy out. So this would be a really good platform to do that. And in batsmen, I would really like to see DC. The batsmen, they've been putting on a show, but it has not been consistent in the players, who is coming out and putting on the show. So if there would be a consistent thing, so then we would finally be able to see whether DC is actually at the top or not. So this would be a really exciting game.
Correct. So great points raised by both our panelists. Obviously, Dwaipan supporting DC and Jay supporting RCB in a way, but obviously we all want both the teams to go all out, as rightly mentioned by Jay, and let's hope for a scintillating match between these two teams tomorrow. Saying that, this is me, Nishit, signing off with my panelist Jay and Dwaipan. And before we end, I just want to remind all of you to keep liking and sharing the Sports Bash YouTube channel. Please comment if you want us to discuss about a particular team, franchise, or player, and we would surely try to bring more such content about cricket and IPL and in general for you guys. So see you all for tomorrow's discussion. And since then, it's Nishit signing off. Good night.